Hi, I'm Ray Schelin, and tonight I was going to show you the new power hammer we made for the shop. I designed it, and my guys at the shop have built a lot of it. I built some of it, but my machinist and welder have contributed greatly. I have an employee named Mike, and he was able to figure out how to get the variable frequency drive to work correctly with a 5 horsepower 3-phase motor up there, and I'll show you how nice the control is on that. Just want to describe the machine. It's a double-headed, large-scale power hammer. We got one side functioning now. We've got a lot of the mechanism made for the other side. We're going to put a shrink die in that side and linear stretch dies over there, and then we'll have the standard radius dies on this side. The material, it's an interesting story. I live in Sturbridge, Mass. Next town over is Southbridge, which is a lot of industry in Southbridge, and there's 3 big scrap yards. And 20 years ago I used to frequent those scrap yards because I'm a scrounger, and I found these beams one day over there. This is like 20 years ago, and these actually came from Germany. There was a machine made, some kind of production machine, I don't know what its function was, and they assembled it, they shipped it from Germany to the US, assembled it locally within 25 miles of this area, and it never got used, and it got decommissioned and scrapped. So I went over to the scrapyard one day, and there's like literally hundreds of these 8-foot beams with nice weldments on the top and bottom on them, and I could buy scrap at that time for 5 cents a pound. So I says, well, I don't know what I'm going to use them for, but the price is so cheap, I'll buy a bunch of them. So I bought a bunch of them, and I put them in the back of my yard at my house. And they were sitting there for years. They got a little rusty, but not too bad. And some of the other steel I picked up on like Craigslist. This beam here for like 50 bucks. And I've got these other beams from friends. They work in construction, and they were leftovers. And some more scrap for the base down on the bottom here. And all this pile of steel was in the back of my shop. I've dragged it around from my house to my shop in Stafford Springs, Connecticut like 6 years ago. And then I moved it back up to here. We're in Charlton, Mass, one town over from my home, where I live in Sturbridge. And I had a big pile of it in the back, and then one day I says, you know, I got to do something with that pile, or nothing's going to happen unless I do something. So I decided to make a power hammer. I'm known for English wheel work, but I thought having a power hammer in the shop would be a good asset because I teach my coach building class. This will give the people that take my class more of a wide spectrum to see the comparison between an English wheel and a power hammer. So we got this built now. It's not totally finished. Like I said, we got to finish the other side and get the dies made. And the power hammer will enable me to use thicker metals. On an English wheel, it's pretty difficult to push thicker metals and to shape them. But this is throwing a lot of weight right here. And it'll easily take thicker metals. How thick, I don't know yet, but I put 1/8-inch aluminum in, and it'll shape it pretty good. I don't know if it'll shrink it with a shrink die, but you can stretch shape it, and that'll allow me to do some sculptural work, which I've been wanting to do for 25 plus years or so. This is another interesting piece. This anvil piece I got at the scrapyard, and it was an 8-inch cube. I think it's a stainless alloy, and so I figured it'd be good right there. So it was 8 inches thick. I wasn't going to bandsaw it, so I have a local friend that has a water jet, and he sliced it in half for me. We milled it flat and cut the corners so it wouldn't bite on the panels. We got that mounted, and all the steel for the tool holders and stuff. I designed this system here for the tool holders, working pretty good. And all this steel I got scrounging again too to make the hardened dies. We've been hardening the dies in-house. Mike is another, my employee Mike went to school and learned how to use a a hardening oven, and he knows all the processes of hardening and quenching and tempering. So that's been a big asset to have Mike around besides doing the VFD. So I didn't want to design the mechanism with the typical bowspring that a lot of the hammers have. So I came up with a design using 2 coil springs. You have to have springs in the mechanism pretty much. You can use a bowspring in the front, or you can use 2 coil springs inside. I've got a standard adjustable eccentric. It's a little bit tall. It's not as user-friendly as some of the other hammers, but you don't have to change the eccentric too often. And we got a 5 horsepower motor. It's got plenty of torque, plenty of RPM. And with the VFD, you can dial in speeds where it gets real crazy. So we got it now with a limiter, and it's running a really good speed. And I'll give a demo in a minute here. One thing that, being all steel construction, it's very, very noisy because it'll resonate with all these. They're like musical instruments, basically. So the consensus has been, for all the people that have asked what's the best to do, is to fill all these tubes with just dry cement. Don't activate the cement, just a real fine cement powder. So I got to chop holes in it and put some plugs in all the beams and fill them up with cement. But I don't want to do that until the machine is totally built and tested and all the aspects of it are proven out. One thing I still want to do is welding, is put some torque rods on it, like they have on all the other power hammers pretty much. There's a little bit of vibration coming. The whole column is actually vibrating a little bit because of the floor moving and stuff. So I want to stabilize that with torque rods. I think that'll bring it down. It's very manageable the way it is. So I'm going to take a piece of metal here. I got a 24-inch radius die in here now. And I'll just show you the control that it has and make a small panel. So that's what we'll do here. My cable is coming out here. This is the foot pedal we made. It has a potentiometer in it, and it's got a nice little control. You can see as it's activating. Put some muffs on. Here's the panel. It's got a nice compound in it. It won't even pop. It's got here's your straight edge here. A nice smooth panel. You can see down there. That's about it for now. It's Wray, Schelin, ProShaper.com. We're doing some more videos. Thank you.